Let me ask you, why do watch enthusiasts hate citizen watches? Because most of them have quartz movements. But then why do people still keep buying citizen watches? Because most of them have quartz movements. Today we're going to be looking at one of the brand's latest hits, the Citizen Tsuno Chrono AN3660-81A from their record label collection, also known as the Citizen Bullhead. So let's go and take a closer look at the watch. We need to ask a few basic questions before doing a deep dive of the watch. Who is the Citizen watch for? Why don't we hear enough about it on bigger watch channels? Why is it that I've handled around 10 Seikos in the same amount of time as I've handled one Citizen? Why? The brand has clearly marketed themselves towards a no-nonsense collector who needs a reliable, affordable, easy-to-use watch that comes from a reputable brand and not a Casio, because that's the first thing that comes to mind when you say all those words in the same sentence. Citizen is the answer. I was actually surprised to find out in my own family, my own flesh and blood, preferred quartz watches over mechanical. Excuse me? Because if you don't really know anything about watches or the movements and you suddenly hear the words like mechanical and automatic, it can be a bit scary. Like when you think of the word mechanical, it seems something that you would have to do. It sounds like you would have to do more work for something that's supposed to make your life easier. And normal people don't want that. Casio is the gateway drug into the watch world, mostly famous for their digital offerings and indestructible G-Shocks. Seiko is the entryway into in-house mechanical watches, and a Citizen is the perfect in-between brand. A brand that offers the looks of a Seiko, but with ease and reliability of quartz, and not just any quartz, but a quartz movement that is truly wear it and forget it type. Thanks to the EcoDrive technology, which powers their watches through both natural and artificial light, unlike solar-powered movements. Citizen has an important place in the horological universe, way more than what they get credited for. They not only own big brands like Alpina, Frederic Constant, Bulova, Arnold and Son, and a few more that I can't really pronounce, but they're also the creators of one of the biggest watch movement brand, Miura, which I'm sure you've heard of. And unlike what many people believe, Miura movements are not necessarily always cheap, but actually offer a variety of both quartz and mechanical movements with several functions and complications at a wide price range, and are often found in both entry and mid-level watch brands. Now looking at today's watch, it comes in a 38mm stainless steel case with 42mm lug-to-lug, thickness of about 12mm and a lug width of 18mm, making it super wearable on smaller wrists. Some people are complaining that the watch is too small, but seeing that this is a reissue of the 1976 Citizen Speedtimer, which was also worn by Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the new chronograph is staying true to the original. Having a domed mineral crystal adds to the vintage aesthetics that the watch is going for, but it's also one of those points where I feel that Seiko beats Citizen. The crystal is where the Citizen brand is leaning more towards a Casio than a Seiko. A mineral crystal is one of the more entry-level crystals that often come with most fashion watches, and unlike sapphire, they're not immune to minor scratches and they're not as tough as Seiko's proprietary hardlex. The movement on this watch is also one of the more basic quartz offerings, The Miota 0510 caliber is not an eco-drive movement, but a standard battery-operated quartz chronograph with an accuracy of plus minus 22nd per month. You have the crown at 12 o'clock and two pushers on the sides of the crown, giving the watch case a look that resembles a bullhead, hence the nickname. Since the watch offers only 50 meters of water resistance, you don't have a threaded crown, which makes sense. But the watch does feature a 12-hour chronograph function, which is quite unique, as many entry-level chronographs that I've seen are typically only able to measure up to 30 minutes. So this is definitely a big positive. To both start and stop the chronograph hand, you simply press the left pusher and then the right pusher to slow reset. The case comes with brushed finishing that's spread evenly all around the cushion case, which is continued all through the bracelet as well, giving the whole package kind of a uniform look in terms of finishing. But unfortunately, the visual aesthetic is kind of the only good thing about the bracelet. I'm not a huge fan of the folded link bracelet on this watch, mainly because the bracelet doesn't feel like it belongs on this particular case. And like I just said, I don't mean that visually. When you look at it, it looks fine, but when you physically hold the watch, the bracelet just feels off. While the case is a solid, heavy thing, the bracelet just feels like a flimsy thread that's barely carrying the weight of the case. Also, the bracelet being ultra thin and the case being relatively way thicker in comparison, there's this odd contrast between the case and the bracelet, which further alienates the bracelet from the rest of the watch. But again, you don't buy the watch for the bracelet, at least at this price point. You buy the watch for the watch itself. You can swap out the bracelet for a much better feeling leather strap. I've also heard people complain that the bracelet kind of tugs on their hair, and to that I'm just gonna say that I'm a hairy dude and I've had no issues removing the watch. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. Now the watch has one of the best looms I've seen on a dial, especially at this price. The loom is heavily applied on each of the applied markers and also along the hour and minute hand. It comes in the form of this bluish glow and outlasts the loom that's found on many of the divers at similar price point. You've got a soft looking white textured dial with applied metal indices with stamped loom across the middle, with a painted minute track around the edge and a tilted black glossy chapter ring. By the way, just wanted to remind you to hit that subscribe button because I'm currently sponsoring myself. Anyway, back to the video. So there are several imperfections on the dial which may start to appear the more time you spend with the watch. Firstly, the Applied Citizen logo looks cheap. There's no censoring that. There's no way around that. It looks more like something you'd see on a cheaply made fashion watch than a reputable watchmaker like Citizen. The lack of a frame around the date window just makes it feel like an afterthought. And speaking of date window, what the heck is a date window doing here? It's not even at 45 degrees. No, I mean literally it's not. OCD sirens everywhere. I'll come back to my design proposal. And why do we need that text again? Considering that we already lack real estate for the Chrono subdials, I feel like this kind of proves what I said earlier. They're actually marketing this watch to the quartz snobs. And lastly, the chronograph hand ticks only once per second. In the case of this Citizen, it looks like a chronograph, it feels like one, and sure, it can perform the basic functions of a chronograph, but not well enough to be functional when needed. Some of these things are a bit minor considering that this is an entry-level chronograph. It is a good looking watch and I just see a missed opportunity by Citizen. Now, if I could suggest a small visual improvement on the dial, I would just remove the text and the date window altogether. Just see how much better that looks. Even with all of its flaws, it's a unique looking piece and definitely one that you won't find on most wrists. And the small case size, in my opinion, only adds to the versatility of this watch. It's not a obnoxiously large sports watch. You can wear it on a suit because it's not so big, but you can also wear it on a t-shirt like I am right now and it won't look out of place. But be aware that this is a JDM release. Especially in this dial variant, this is not the easiest watch to find. A lot of them are either out of stock or selling slightly above retail. If you can find this for around $230 to $250, it's not a bad watch. Sure, you can find something much better in terms of specs for the same amount, but if you're looking for a watch with a unique design and character, you might actually appreciate this. If you enjoyed this video, do hit that subscribe button. I have a few more watch reviews coming up soon. Until next time, take care and I'll see you guys in the next one.